Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday, and I am at home post B-side San Diego, which I thought went phenomenally well. I didn't get to see any of the talks, sadly, not even the keynote from Kevin, but Mr. Johnson. But I thought it was a great conference. It rained, it rained a lot, which we don't I don't want to say we don't normally get rain around here, but February, March, is our winter, if you will, where we get rain. And the weekend of Easter, being the 29th, 30th, 31st, very rainy days. And it wasn't bad. I mean, the venue was inside, so that made it easier. It wasn't like infosec camp out or what have you, where it was I worried about the weather because that was really the only unknown that we would deal with. So it was rainy, it was cool. There were some folks that felt that caused a drop in a bit of the attendance, but I thought everybody enjoyed themselves. It allowed some folks who maybe wanted to do some trainings to actually sit in. We waitlisted several folks and ended up some folks got to go to some Taggart training for Rust programming, which was quite excellent. I heard it was well received. Also, the intro to social engineering class was quite good, and the AI adversarial AI class training was well received as well. So, I think overall it was an excellent conference. I did get to talk to Kevin at his vendor booth. I thought that was really nice of him to bring along his video games so that everybody could play. And yeah, it was just really well done. And then the post party was, we got to we got the bowl, and there was Hacker Jeopardy, and there was some karaoke going on. So I'm looking forward to it again next year. If any of you had attended B-Sides and are watching, I would love to hear what you thought about it. But STSU was an excellent venue, by the way. I can definitely see room for expansion. I thought that there was, if we had 400 people, that would have been. I think if it had been better weather and we'd had as many people as we'd sold tickets for, that it would have definitely uh, been a bit more crowded. But I think that we can, I think they'll plan for that better, next year if they have more people, if we decide to sell more tickets. I'm really hoping that they'll allow me to, you know, volunteer and sponsor again. I thought that was very classy of them, and a lot of people were like, "Why are you volunteering to be a door person and you know also sponsoring the show?" And I was like, I don't really have an answer to that because I'm not doing it right. Yeah, that was my joke, is saying I wasn't doing it right, that I should just be a filthy sponsor sitting at a table or something. Not that the sponsors were filthy. It's just it's that's my go-to term. But yeah, I actually thought it was great. I picked up some socks, some Hack the Planet socks from Pen Tester Lab, which was there. Hold that thought. There we go. That's better. Well, it was better. There we go. All right, sound of freedom, y'all. Sound of freedom, I guess. So yeah, it was a good weekend. It was a long weekend. I woke up at like 6 in the morning to get to SDSU, and we unpacked a bunch of stuff and got set up. I got to be line queue goon, and looking forward to doing that potentially again at another conference very soon. And just kind of kept the people. We even had a couple of people try to get in without paying, and Nick Fury and them were right on top of that. I mean, I would have given the person tickets or, the people tickets to get in if they really wanted to. But yeah, I think they were trying to figure out if they could socially engineer themselves into a conference, even if it is, a B-sides or instead of like a Black Hat or a DEF CON or a Shmoo or something like that. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Maybe next year I will not get so dehydrated. That was something I ended up doing. I didn't take care of myself, and so I had, and that was on me. So I forgot my water bottle. So next year I'll remember to take my water bottle with me. Because yeah, next morning it was like my trainer was wanting me to. He was like, "Hey, you're showing up at 8 o'clock," and I had just woke up at 8 o'clock, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling that at all." So it took me a day to recover from that because I didn't hydrate. So very important to hydrate, not to hydrate, not dehydrate. So yeah, and yeah. Man, I'll tell you what was it? Friday, late Thursday, early Friday. Raise your hand if you heard of the XZ issue. Anybody? Raise your hand. If you're lurking, raise your hand. Say yes, I heard of it. I mean, if you haven't yet, it's a very interesting dilemma. I would say a con, like a con artist or something. There's several articles that I posted up this last weekend in our Slack chat, but I have a link here. There's one, everything I know about the XZ backdoor. So one little background on what XZ is. And here's a cool graphic that Frogger did, Thomas Rocha. And that was at the time, so it may have changed or updated since then. It's CVE 2024-3094, and it's actually XZ is a collection of utilities, not just a specific binary in this case, that you use to compress. So it's very much like zip or rar or something like that in Linux. It's very popular for use when you're compressing files that need to take up a lot less space. Kind of like, one of the ones that was called out was SquashFS, which is used in a lot of embedded systems. What happens is the system will actually shrink down the firmware so it will fit in a smaller spot on the device. And then when it's, first booted up, it boots up into memory, so it boots up and expands itself into memory so that it can run. So you've got, let me see, here we go. So you have Squash FS. And it's a compressed read-only file system for Linux. It compresses files, inodes, directories, and supports block sizes from 4 kilobits or kibibits up to 1 megabytes. It's the more correct version of kilobytes and megabytes. And so, yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's not new, SquashFS anyway, and XZ is one of the ones that is used by them. So the original support for Squash used gzip, and then later LZMA, which is the XZ or LZO. Yeah, they added LZMA to compression, which is used by XZ. And previously, LZMA utilities is a set of freeware command line lossless data compressors. I think that's the important thing. When you compress something down, sometimes it's like MP3s or FLAC, the difference between audio files. FLAC will compress the raw audio into a lossless format, which means it's supposed to be a bit-for-bit correct version of the original source, but in a more compressed format, whereas MP3 will tend to lose some extraneous bits. It's when you're listening to an MP3, there's I don't know if psychoacoustics or whatever, but there's it's almost like the when you look at a rainbow, you know that there's other wavelengths of light outside of the bands of Roy G. Biv. You know, you've got your infrared and your ultraviolet, and MP3 is the rainbow, and FLAC would be more like you being able to see the ultraviolet and infrared spectrums, the additional bits of wavelength that you don't get to see. And so XZ is, you know, making sure that it's perfectly reconstructed, no loss of information, right? Very, very similar to that. It's a FLAC version of compressor versus an MP3 version of compressor. So what would be a version, what would be a lossy data compressor? Seems like that would be not a very good thing to have. Data compressor. Yeah, they reduce file size by discarding less important information. Some types of files are so large there's not enough space to keep all the data in place. So JPEG would be very similar, where you take the original file size and it would compress it down, and you actually lose some information, or you know, doing things like the algorithms inside of JPEG. Whereas something like a PNG would be lossless, and you can have PNG lossless, you can have PNG lossy, but yeah, so you got file formats for lossy. Right. So anyway, it's an open source tool, and it has been around for a long time. So you see it's what's that, XZ format's been around since 2009. The initial release was 15 years ago. So the original creator of this, Lassie Collins, and Igor Pavlov created it. From what I had read, there was the developer, in this case, you know, Lassie, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, had mentioned that there was some things going on in their life that was causing them to not be able to spend as much time on their open source project, in this case XZ. And some people started commenting that, hey, I would like to take this over, or, you know, you should probably, you know, bring on more people, you know, and apparently the original author said, yeah, that's probably a good idea. You know, you seem like you're going to be wanting to help out. And so this person who reached out was, I have the link. So this is the page. I can't refresh this page because it no longer exists, because GitHub has canceled or disabled this repo. So I had managed to keep this link up and running. But 4 days ago, Abyss Dweller was doing some performance checking on Postgres. It's a big, long, convoluted story, but there's a lot coming on about this. Abyss Dweller had done some benchmarking for Postgres and had found some weird code in the XZ library, and had raised the question about the security concerns. And so it appears that there has been a long con going on with the developer of one of the new developers of XZ, who was, what was the person's name? Let me see. Where is it? Yes, supply chain attack. Yes. Very much so. Okay. Forget the person's name. There we go. So, 2009, Jiatan was introduced. So, around 2023, another developer who identified themselves as Jiatan T75 committed, received commit permissions and was added as a second maintainer. And the account was introduced the malicious code and signed the backdoor tarballs for versions 5.6.0 and 5.6.1. And It says, while there's a theoretical possibility that the account was compromised, mounting evidence suggests that it's more likely a fake identity and part of a well-planned and executed years-long supply chain campaign to poison the area, or the ecosystem. Sorry, area. And so there was it was really weird. So yeah, so it's starting in 2023, started becoming more involved over the course of the year, made various contributions. This is from CSO Online, which I don't normally trust because they're the same people who think that there's a job shortage, but it's a pretty decent write-up. He also made a pull request OS fuzz, it laid the groundwork, right? There was a security.md where, they basically said, if you have a security issue, let us know, but don't tell anybody about it because we want to keep it secret, with the idea of that's how you would, how you hear people who make phone calls to be, hey, your cousin's in prison, they need money, don't tell anybody, but just send us the money and whatever. So there was a lot of things going on here, a lot of, fingers in a lot of different pies. This person started updating their website. So the actual code that makes up the backdoor was added by this new developer over the course of several days in February of this year, 2024, culminating in the release of backdoor version 5.6.0 on February 24th. And then he submitted the new versions for inclusions into various Linux distributions with the idea that lots of cool new features, somebody found out about it. Thankfully, none of these were added to the existing stable versions of the Linux distributions, but it's just really, it's really nuts. The amount of time and effort spent getting access to an open source project, and maybe that all they needed to do was look like they really wanted to help out and do malicious shit once they got access to it. It's really nuts. And there was some other stuff involved there where I really should have, wrote out everything here. This was a decent blog post that had been updated. So it has a timeline, very, very nice timeline. 2021, the bad actor or the person acting in bad faith creates their account. They submitted a patch via mailing list. There's, submitted a patch. Contents of the patch aren't relevant. Following evidence are the new person. So this person created, it's suggested that Giatan created a new user to suggest adding new patches that Gia had added. So, he's talking to himself through different SOC accounts to say, hey, hey, this is really important. Gia should definitely be able to add this to the system. Never mind that they're the same person talking to one another. And the new person B, who's actually the original bad guy they're thinking, pressured the original maintainer to add another maintainer. And so, there was definitely some discussion about mental health issues and open source. Here's a links to, so and on top of that, there's other versions of XZ for like Java versions. There's an embedded version, that do different things or allows for different capabilities depending on processor, RAM, speed, that kind of thing. I think, let me see, I saw lots of unanswered emails at the moment. Obviously, it's not a good thing. I've tried focused on all these. Let me see. Did he mention there was something about mental health issues, but I hadn't had a chance to read through everything that was going on here. Right, see, so there was a lot of emails that were being sent out. It's clear my resources are too limited, thus the many emails waiting for replies, so something has to change in the long term. So it could be that maybe Giatan created the emails waiting for response by creating a bunch of users, but the original owner was convinced to take over and give a second maintainer access to these things. And so once Jitan got access to the source code and the ability to sign, you know, I don't want to say, was it bited? They waited until a good time, which they felt was in February of this year, so almost 2 years, to put the back doors in place. And here's the thread for that. It's just amazing that, so there's, I wouldn't say this is a trust issue. And in some ways it is a trust issue because the developer wanted to do right by people. You know, there's a lot of unanswered emails, felt like they weren't doing their job as a maintainer of something that probably has a license that says, you know, it's going to be as is, don't expect support, etc., 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 which nobody follows. They felt like they needed to add somebody, and they were socially engineered into allowing a wolf to come into the henhouse. And it now comes to us that this is a new risk, right? This is a supply chain problem. This is a problem with open source. That's about the way, shape, and form of it. So you can see that this is an excellent discussion about the. So yeah, creates his GitHub account, first commit, potential infrastructure testing, LZMA, add iFunction implementation for CRC FastC. PR opened in OS fuzz to disable the iFunction for fuzzing builds. So he was trying to add, so the malicious developer was trying to add code in other places so that when somebody was trying to fuzz XZ, they wouldn't find the backdoor code. Malicious host build to host v4 added git ignore, later incorporated into the package release. Obfuscated encrypted stages binary backdoor hidden in 2 test files. So these 2 test files were in there. So the bug has been introduced as of March 9th of this year. And the macro is executed during the build process and runs the malicious code below, which said rn it. Yeah, so map. So it's a tr command, which is kind of a find replace kind of system. That's a command for being able to replace underscores with, you know, or underscores with dashes or what have you. Substitution to uncorrupt the malformed XZ file. Yeah, so all -t's are replaced with that. Yeah, and then so the obfuscation is deobfuscated with the proper tr commands so that you can write corrupt or bad-3-corrupt lzma.xz. And then there's some additional bits that happen, including a backdoor execution. So yeah, there was a lot going on with this. Too much to actually go through on one stream, but it was just interesting how the groundwork was laid by this person. I don't want to say it was sophisticated because they socially engineered somebody. They had a little bit of code knowledge. They gained the trust of somebody who needed help because they mentioned somebody mentioned that there was some mental health issues there, but I haven't seen anything from the original developer saying, hey, you know, I'm overwhelmed or, you know, don't want to support this anymore. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that this is now something that I don't know if open source people care about enough, but if you're a company that uses a lot of open source, this is now something that is going to have to be a worry or a concern. And I don't know how we solve that. Yeah. So decompress the file with xddc, remove junk data from the file using a head tool calls. Portion of the file is discarded, contains the binary backdoor. Use custom substitution cipher to decipher the data. Deciphered data is decompressed using xz-f raw. Yeah. So these are the bytes in the comment. So somebody decompiled it and reverse engineered this system and found it, and then there was a bash file for the backdoor executions. Yeah, this is troublesome. I mean, it's not like somebody created a malicious package and put it up into, into pip so that somebody could download it, or typo squatted something so that, if you download, Python-doc instead of Python_doc, you're going to get, garbage, or you're going to get a piece of malware. This was legitimately put into a legitimate piece of software. And if somebody hadn't been wanting to do some, performance testing in PostgreSQL, this would have gone in. This would have gone in. This would have been in Debian and Ubuntu and Fedora and, embedded systems like, FreeRTOS, or, firmwares that could go into, system. And there was some discussion that there was an SSH key that was added to this as well. And let me go see where's. So this was from the Gruck. If you don't follow him, you should, because he's been a staple in the infosec community forever. Right, so the trigger for this quest for maintainer operation: aren't most CVEs documented features? Well, thank you for your question there, Gunboyd Walker, and thank you for coming and hanging out with me today. If you want to market it that way, I guess so. Not, in this case, I would say these are not features that people want, right? It is I would say that these weren't documented, right? Or the documentation or the commit log was written in such a way so that it sounded innocuous, right? Just like in the diagram, to disable iFunction for fuzzing builds, allegedly to mask the malicious changes. So there was some spin to the patch. Hey, let's, log4j was, yes, I lived that. I lived with libwebp as well. It is interesting that this happened, and it was in such disparate areas, and it took something like this to find what was found. This person went to OSFuzz and asked for this information. There was some question that this person has also added Linux kernel patches, which are going to have to be reviewed and scrutinized. If this person obviously made SOC accounts like he did to gain initial foothold into XZ, those SOC accounts are going to have to be reviewed for this as well. So it sucks because there's no trust relationship in an OS, in open source, right? It's, hey, I want to help. Okay, cool. Here it is. And this person sat for a couple years waiting for the right time to think that they could try putting things in. They laid groundwork to try to circumvent controls that were in place or build processes or what have you. And they bided their time. I don't know to what end. I'm not going, I made the joke that they probably work for a Panda, or they probably work for some, malware group or ransomware organization to, this is ultimately to gain some kind of foothold into systems from either a widespread area, because they were trying to get it committed to, regular Linux flavors that are probably, quite popular. But yeah, it's, how do you generate trust in an open source project? I don't know what that is, but I don't think it exists. And this is kind of along the lines of, how do we build trust these days anyway? Cool, I like open source, you like open source, we got trust, done. And it's like, yeah, that's not enough. It's not enough. But I don't know what's going to solve this problem, right? Yeah, exactly. A style of operation, a human organization would run to get an agent in place. Then they'll position someone and create a crisis for the target, one which the agent is able to solve. So the avenging angel, right? Thank God Tia Lean, thank God the replacement for the original owner of XZ was here to solve all of our problems. If animals could talk, which one would be the rudest? Rudest. I don't know. My cat, Mama Kitty, is a bit of a. She's rude. Yeah, she's rude. Hey, Digital Warhead. Yeah, Gruck says, any intelligence agency could run this campaign, design and execute these operations. There's a serious level of technical acumen on display as well. This persona was able to do the work and talk the talk. The core of his campaign was human intelligence. The other issue is GitHub suspended those, these repos. So, unless they probably have them being held for whatever reason, but zebras do seem like assholes. Yeah. But yeah, so, let me see. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, XZ Java, which is the Java implementation of XZ. Don't ask me why. XZ embedded, and then the project website for process is also there. It looks like they're actually still 4 days ago, 5 days. Okay, so this hasn't been updated since it was shut off. But yeah, it's just interesting to see the level of operations here. So to get the iFunk hook added to XZ takes up the latter half of the year. They aren't merged until October 2023. Cover operations that happened during this time as well, including an operation to lend credibility to the iFunk patch. Right, so the entire campaign is reasonably placed for an intelligence agency. They approach, get an agent in place, move the pieces in. Yeah, I mean, they're playing chess, right? Hey, we need to go to OSS fuzz because, typically people will fuzz this application for things because it's used in a lot of places. So, hey, we need to, create the narrative over here that everything is fine when somebody goes and uses OSS fuzz to do this thing. So, I mean, a bit of planning happened. Maybe the original bad actor ran OSS fuzz and goes, okay, I need to know, these are the patches that I'm going to need to add so that when somebody does run this, it's not going to pop on this. So I'm trying to find where somebody had said open source was always based on trust. No, it wasn't based on trust. Open source was never based on trust. It was based on the fact that the code is free and that many eyes can audit the code. And obviously, it's not free. And many eyes don't look at the code until something innocuous happens, where then now everybody's involved with the code. So, and I would say the fact that the original maintainers of XZ had felt like he needed to bring somebody else on means that it was taking up a lot of his time, and it did not, it wasn't free. It cost him time, effort, and now they feel probably fucking terrible for allowing this person the ability to sign or take over the tarballs. Yes, it was patient. It wasn't slow. He introduces himself. He's announcing an XZ release in 9 months' time. And by March of 2023, takes over signing release tarballs. 12 months to go from zero to maintainer. And you know what? It was probably because the original maintainer was like, I'm good. I don't have to deal with this bullshit. I'm done. It sounds like this person's got plenty of time to maintain this, and I'll just let it happen. Don't make it illegal to see what's in the sausage. Yes? Sure. Again, I mean, who actually does code audits on a grand scale like this? I mean, it was only, what was that person's name? Where was it? Andres Freund, principal security engineer, Microsoft, email OSS security, informing the community of the discovery of a backdoor. So good job, Andres. You probably saved us a lot more trouble down the road. Congratulations. If I ever meet you, I owe you a beer or some kind of adult beverage or, milkshake, something like that. It's just crazy because there's so many pieces in here. There was a part I think where they said it was disabling some sandbox functions in another system. So I mean, this person, not only did he not lay low about the maintainer stuff, but he was doing stuff on the side to make sure that it would be easier to get things in. Yeah, similar compromises could lurk in other projects. I hate the FUD here, but I mean, this could easily happen again. It could. I mean, it almost feels like if you've got somebody who is like, yes, I want to help, I want to help, I want to help, you're going to be like, what's wrong with that person? What makes them want to be involved? Baltimore? Baltimore. What happened in Baltimore? Oh, yeah, no, that's not. Yeah, probably too soon there, Boyd Walker. I doubt that is the case. So, yeah, I mean, I would hope that this will spur some more popular open source applications to go. Maybe we need to figure out, who's been giving us, packages and commits for the last couple years, and especially if they've never given another commit elsewhere or they've expressed a major interest in wanting to help out with the organization. It sucks that now it feels like open source developers need to have training on how to be, socially engineered to, do their shit. So, there we go. Sorry, I'm just checking some stuff over here on the work side. Yeah, okay. But yeah, it sucks. Yeah, situations like this remind us that we should remain vigilant within the open source software ecosystem. Yeah, it was one of the first things I mentioned, Digital Warhead. But yeah, I loved B-Side San Diego. I hope, I said I hope everybody can come on down. So, it rained a lot, but didn't stop people from coming out. And it was excellent. When open source becomes intransparent by sheer size and complexity. Well, in that case, yeah. I mean, I think somebody made the joke that SQLite. Somebody had mentioned that SQLite is still maintained by the same three folks. SQLite is managed by the. I think that's what they said. This is maintained by the same three guys that, and they don't take commits from outside of their circle of people. Oh yeah, I mean, I talked about it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Not a huge deal there, Digital Warhead. But yeah, so let me see, license. Where was it? I think they said, yeah, that if you they don't take patches because they don't trust you people. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But I did read about, where is it? National team of developers. File format is free to anybody who wants it. All of this is verified by automated tests. Of course, with all this testing, there's still bugs. I forget where I saw that, but it was like, yeah, this is, they don't allow, outside updates. I'm going through DB design and management course right now. Oh, that's very cool. How are you liking it? A DB design and management course. What DB are they using? Please don't say Oracle. They're Digital Warhead. Hope it's not Digital Warhead. All right, not Oracle. Is it Hadoop or is it like a NoSQL kind of thing? I won't reply for now because I need to. Okay, so this is the original. Apparently, the original developers site. It's agnostic, but a lot of SQLs. Okay, so MySQL is owned by Oracle, sadly. MariaDB was the fork of the last known free version of that, and there's probably been a couple of other forks since then, but I remember that when a lot of folks moved away from MySQL. I plan to write an article about how the backdoor got into releases and what could be learned from this. I'm still studying the details. xz.get needs to be gotten into a state where I'm happy to say I fully approve its contents. It's possible the recent commits in master will be rebased to purge the malicious files from Git history so people won't download them in any form when they clone the repo. The old repository could still be preserved in a separate read-only for history. This, unfortunately, will take several days. A clean xz utils release could jump to 5.8.0. Some wish that it clearly separates the clean one from the bad one. Yeah, the other thing was it was like if you run updates for like Homebrew, if you're on Mac OS, you would upgrade from 5.6.0 to 5.4.6. So it would actually upgrade you to a lower version that I believe was before Jiatan had actually joined the system. So GitHub has suspended both accounts, which is good as a standby. Let me see. Yes. Yeah, there's still a lot we don't know. So yeah, I mean, I think they're still digging out on this. Yeah, see, using TLDR, using a deb or distro with glibc, or using systemd on publicly accessible SSH, update right now, because I think systemd actually updated their stuff. The only other Linux I saw that was actually affected by this vulnerability was Kali Linux. So if you're using Kali Linux and they said anywhere between 26 March to 29 March, you need to run updates again. Get your 5 terabytes of updates for Kali Linux, the rolling release version, so that you can get rid of the crappy XZ version that is vulnerable by that. But yeah, so there's a ton of information here with regards to this, and it's still a developing story for all intents and purposes, but it could have been so much worse. I mean, in 2027 we could have found out, hey, there's been a backdoor in Linux for the past 5 years because of, or 3 years because of XZ, right? And then that would have got real interesting. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, digital warhead, or nuke the one you have and start over, right? Because I think OffSec also made the poor choice of blaming users by saying, I think they mentioned, what was it, Twitter? I think they were trying to say, hey, anybody who uses our stuff should review all the packages in their distro and stuff like that. And I think they got a modicum of shit for that because they were basically stating, hey, you should know every package that you've got running on your Kali system. I was like, okay, that's not realistic. Let me see, where is it? Backdoor contingent, if you did not update your Kali before the 26th, you're not affected by this vulnerability. Was this implemented on purpose? Who reviewed that code? Yeah, okay, great. Yes. Where is it? I should have bookmarked this too, but yeah, they injected it into the package, which doesn't check against a known good build against source. Linux community should take wisdom from the freebie. Okay, yeah, no, they have the same problem. You just, yeah, Y Combinator. That was a good link there. Ah, yes, this was the original link I saw on Thursday. Three days ago, yes. Did a bit of poking. XZ embedded was touched by Jia as well and appears to be used in the Linux kernel. I did a quick look and it doesn't appear he touched anything of interest there. I checked the previous mirror. nothing was out of place other than a few lagging comments. Now, a lot of these links, if you actually go to that Hacker News site, are probably dead. If they go to the GitHub, Alpine was patched as of 6 hours ago, and this was from 3 days ago. So, interesting. So somebody from Liberia, I don't know who they are. It was a VPN service, and they're not budging on trying to get out any more information. So I just find this interesting because this is a psychological thing, right? The developer wanted help. We see this a lot where, developers, what was it, Byte Bleeder, had his application that he was using for the longest time. He's like, look, people are freeloaders, need some help. Don't get any help with commits or anything like that. We had him on the show talking about that stuff, and he was trying to figure out a way to help open source people get the support they need. GitHub started a sponsorship kind of thing where it's like you could sponsor somebody similar to Patreon. Yeah, you get help, but then it's this guy, who's going to put a backdoor in your shit, right? And it's like, great, now I'm going to just suffer in silence because if I ask for help, I could end up with somebody like this asshole right here. So, yeah. Yeah. And they may find more stuff as they go along that this person's been in other systems. Yeah, public key bypass. This Hacker News was very. Yeah. So yeah, this is another post here for that. By the way, if you have solar panels and a battery system, make sure that you've tested your house against power outage. Because sometimes, this is a complete non sequitur, so apologies. Sometimes when, your electric company turns off the power, your solar and battery system is not completely configured correctly. And you could find yourself sitting in the dark at 10 o'clock at night, thinking that the battery system in your house is going to switch over and power your house when it doesn't. That's all I'm going to say. Because that was me at 10:45 last night when SDG&E shut the power off as part of a planned power outage. So, yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Let me see. So, yeah, OpenSSH, PrivS. Yeah, I mean, people are now interested in trying to figure out where all the ugly stuff is. So yeah, according to my in-phase system, which I have, let me go back here. So let me show you what happened yesterday. So April 1st, it's no joke. So you see, everything's going along swimmingly here. Swimming 9:30, 9:45, 10:30, 10:15, 10:45. Oh, everything's dead, right? About 10:45 last night, SDG&E cut power to my entire system. House is black, right? I have 10 watts of battery power that I'm supposed to be using. As you can see, it got down to about 70% before the power died. And then so the power was off until 5:52 this morning, my time, Pacific time, when they turned everything back on. And when they did, apparently my gateway, which controls the entire system, is still running off of mains. It's not wired so that it's feeding off of the battery. And so after talking with Enphase, which also had an outage of some type today, I ended up finding out that I'm probably going to have the solar installation company come back out again and fix our issue. And it's been having reporting issues all day. So But yeah, and then you see the batteries charging back up from it got down to what, 55%, because once the power came back on, then the batteries came back on, and I started feeding off the batteries again. So yeah, you'd think the management system would have a test option, but when everything went dark, the first thing I did was I tried to go over here to my settings and grid control. I tried to go off grid, right? The idea is once you flip this switch, you're supposed to be the I think the batteries, and I think I mentioned this on a previous stream, the consumption meters, the batteries were still powered on. There was just nothing making the transfer switch do its thing, which would have been in the gateway controller. So the batteries were still on and were discharging. I mean, even when my batteries weren't working 6 months ago, I would get down to about 90% because it would drain about 10% at night because of just, feeding into the system to nothing. So yeah, it was slowly discharging over time. I think I lost about 5%, right? So it was about 70%. So I lost about 5% of charge overnight to the ether, if you will. And then once the shore power came back on and the gateway was powered back up, then I started using the batteries again. So 50% capacity drain seems high for just standby. No, I was using the batteries from okay, come on. Where's my okay, there's that. There. So I was using the batteries from here. So we were constantly pulling 4, 7, 6. So we were pulling battery power from about 6:15 when the sun goes down. There's no sun on the solar panels. Ideally, this is when you're supposed to be pulling the most expensive, power in San Diego from 4 to 9. So this is where the battery takes over and actually does the shaving part to make it cheaper for me to use my power. And then everything was working up until right there. So overnight, I don't use any power from SDG&E. We use the batteries and they slowly discharge. As you can see, like right here on the normal day, I go from 61% all the way down to about, on a good night, it's about 30, 33, 32%. And then during the day, the solar panels charge the batteries back up to 100%. And then it just add, lather, rinse, repeat. So yeah, that's what it should look like. As of last month, let me go back to here. So let me see. Yep. So if you see this is where they figured out that our consumption meters weren't set up and installed properly, and then they came out and fixed them, and then we started getting what we were consuming, because it looked like, you can see it looks like the house hasn't consumed anything, right? And then all of a sudden they fixed them, and now I'm starting to actually consume power in my house, and you get a more accurate reading. So yeah, for about 8 months, we weren't using the batteries that were in our garage because the batteries weren't discharging at all. As you can see, nothing was being discharged. And then once we got the consumption meters set up, everything was working properly, and I was discharging battery every night. Kind of sucks. Would a system like that even be economical in Washington? I think Beta Wolf was talking about trying to do something like that, but he didn't have the right amount of sunlight during the day. I think it depends on the size of your solar panels, how much battery you're able to pull in. I would say in the wintertime, maybe not, but even on a cloudy day, I'm pulling in power. So let me see where. Let's go back a month. Okay, so you can definitely tell there's a lot less, because on the 30th was when it was raining, right? 30th was Saturday. 30th was Saturday. Let me double check that. Yeah, the 30th was Saturday, and you can see what I consumed that day, which is far less. So I only produced 11 kilowatts that day. It was cloudy and it was rainy, but we still produced power, and I still exported some after the batteries were charged back up. But you can definitely tell that we did use a little bit of shore power that day. Sunday was obviously different. You can tell on the rainy days, right, when we used more power. And this was the day I charged my car. So Um, I would think it depends on the size. I would definitely put some batteries in just for, outages or something. And I know that power outages did exist, which is one reason we wanted batteries in our house here in San Diego. When we lived in Snoqualmie, Digital Warhead, sorry, we had a couple of, at least a good 3 or 4 times where we lost power for like a day, right? Or due to high winds or what have you. And this would have been great because currently we could have lived without using any kind of shore power in Snoqualmie if we'd had our solar plus our battery stuff. Okay, where's my, there it is. Okay, I whacked my monitor and it went away. But yeah, my new fun is like watching this shit, generate power for me. So you can see the live status here. So we're still producing 4,600 kilowatt hours, or 4,600 kilowatts, so 4,600 watts of power at 4:30 this afternoon. It's quite a bit. Those stats are fascinating. What's your monthly power bill like? So we get a mid-monthly power bill. I think. Let me see what I've got. Let me see. SD, G&E. They do send you like your mid-cycle usage report. Here you go. So yeah, they tell you. There we go. So yeah, you're negative $18. My projection is negative $31 to $43. The only thing we still have to pay for is gas because we still have propane. And I actually thought about getting a propane generator, or not a propane, but a natural gas generator that we could use in case something did happen to the solar panels. But so far we haven't had to do that yet. And then electrical delivery. So we negative $56 on our bill this month because we're actually making more that we can take out for true up and that kind of thing. So yeah, see, usage to date negative 236 kilowatt hours. And so they say, yeah, you want to lower your bill, reduce your electricity use during on-peak hours, which is 4 to 9 p.m. And that's why we have the batteries to use during, right now this is the most expensive time of day for us. So, but yeah, I'd say in Washington State you could probably do that, especially with like Seattle getting 15, 16 hours of sun in the summer. You would want as big as you can, you can start generating power from 5 a.m. to like 9 at night. I mean, that's a 14, 15 hours. But you would definitely want batteries to take care of, the long cold times of December when it's, you're getting 8 hours of sun and 12 hours of, it would average out, I think. But, yeah, so, yeah, that was the thing that I kept watching over the weekend. That I was worried was going to the XZ stuff that I think was going to shake up more shit. But I think it was just fascinating to see the amount of effort needed just to get to this point, and they failed. Well, they kind of failed. It could have been far worse. But yeah, I don't know if we have a solution to this. I definitely know that there's going to be some leadership at organizations and big companies are going to be like, holy shit, how do we stop this from happening? And I don't know what security teams are going to be able to tell leadership. There's not really much we can do, right? We're going to continue using our software. Are we going to scan all of the dependencies? Are we going to scan all of our packages for potential backdoors? Well, we've got, Gia over here in OSS Fuzz adding patches that will, not find backdoors. So it's like, what are you going to do, right? I don't know if another SCA tool would have made them software composition and analysis, I think is what it's called. Like a Veracode or something. Would a Veracode have found this versus OSS Fuzz? I don't know. But, how many companies actually scan all of their dependencies? How many companies scan all of their Python packages that their developers regurgitate into their scripts? Or, every 14-line code left pad bullshit that they don't want to have to copy paste their, for loops in or whatever. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Even with a supply chain kind of thing, you're still not going to find that kind of stuff. It's just unwieldy, and there's too much there. And you can say, well, we're not going to use as much open source. That's not realistic either. So I don't know what that looks like. Does anybody have any thoughts on what you plan on doing? Or, let's say your boss comes in and goes, hey, I heard about this XZ thing. How are we going to stop supply chains from being infiltrated by bad people? That's all I got. I got nothing. I got nothing. I mean, there's no way to stop that. And investing in that kind of technology at scale is going to be expensive. But the Gruck has definitely done their homework. Yeah. Exactly, General Warhead. Yes, this is fine. This is fine. Problem is, it's going to come down to security to fix the problem, right? Developers won't give a shit. They're probably still, apt-get update. We're solid. Hey, here's a brand new piece of code that does blah. Ship it. I am. Yeah, it's just it is what it is. Oh, here you go. Sorry about your mental health issues. It's important to be aware of your own limits. I get that this is a hobby project for all contributors, but the community desires more. Why not pass on maintainers? See, this Dennis Enns is another person. I don't know if he exists, but he was also suggesting, hey, maybe you need another maintainer. And for all we know, Dennis Enns is a shitbag too, or is a sock of this person here. And I mean, the guy got played like a fiddle. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's unfortunate. I haven't lost interest. My ability has been fairly limited due to long-term mental health issues, but also due to some other things. I've recently worked off-list a bit with Giatan on XZ utils, and perhaps he'll have a bigger role in the future. We'll see. Yeah. And it's got to suck. It's got to suck to be the developer here with this shit. It's like I thought I had somebody who could help take some off my plate, and now I've just had a big giant microscope shoved up my ass, and I've been given a colonoscopy of everything that I've done in the past 15 years, right? And it's unfortunate. He is, to Gruck's point, is blameless, but yeah, maybe this will help get some legitimate people in the industry to help out, or yeah, maybe this is one of those things where, hey, if you are a linchpin system, you don't have control over your shit anymore. Maybe, and this is what I think we've advocated this with folks like Adam Baldwin when he worked with NPM. Once you get popular enough, once you get enough downloads, and I think NPM did something similar to this. It's like once you get popular enough, you have to start signing your code, or you have to submit to certain things, right? Because you are no longer an open source project. You are important. Your infrastructure, and somebody's going to post the link up about XKCD where they got that big convoluted structure, and then you got the little piece of thing. This is, once you get popular enough, or once you reach a certain threshold, you don't own your project anymore. And I know that's anathema to open source, but fuck, you got to do something, right? You have to plan for this shit. It's like, hey, congratulations, your little shitty left pad package has 1.5 million downloads per day. You're gonna need to do some stuff. You need to prepare yourself for actually, this is a job now, right? This is not a hobby. This is a job. And whether you like it or not, and if you don't like it, give up maintainership to people who will maintain it for you. Or join this organization of super the Legion of Super Developers. It's kind of like the Justice League, but they're all, yeah. Anyway, there needs to come a point. It's like, hey, you run XZ, hey, you run SSHD. SSHD's got a whole fucking foundation with funding and sponsors and all NASCAR and shit. I'm sure if they go to conferences, their polo shirts look like fucking NASCAR or something. And the problem is, this developer might have thought, hey, this guy's going to save me and save the project, and he's going to help me with this 5,000 unread emails that I've got in my system, which is exactly what Jiatan was expecting and hoping, because he saw an in. He probably did some research. Me too, Digital Warhead. If I ever did something that actually got big, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I would do. Sure as hell ain't gonna be this stream getting that big, but maybe one day. But I think developers, I don't want to say they don't think about that shit, but I don't know. For every SSHD out there that has excellent funding, has excellent, governance, you have this, and that's scary. And you not only this, but you have 100 of these. For every SSHD that's well governed and well funded, you have 100 of these. So you've got your Linux kernel, your SSHDs, your MariaDBs. You've got this, and maybe there needs to be an organization of that handles this. If it's the Linux Foundation or really important projects.org, linchpinshit.org, that needs to go, and maybe it's somebody you can turn to. Maybe there's a business opportunity. Well, maybe not business. Maybe there's a foundation opportunity there where you can say, okay, hey, all are welcome. Come in. We have a governance model. We've got people who can help you. Kind of like an OWASP or something like that, where he could say, hey, you know what? I don't have the resources to handle this. Maybe you could help me find somebody, kind of like a matchmaker, like a, match.com, where you swipe left or right. Oh yeah, this person knows Rust, but he doesn't know shit about Python. Okay, we're going to swipe right. Maybe something like that. It's unfortunate, really. So that sucks. And I don't know how public this person had been about his mental health issues before this, but yeah, let me see. It's always good to keep in mind this is an unpaid hobby project, right? I don't know who he's telling that to, but it does sound like there's a call for help here. I assure you, I know far too well about the problem that not much progress has been made. The thought of finding new maintainers has existed for a long time too, as the current situation is obviously sad and bad for the project. Forks are obviously another possibility, and I cannot control that. If those happen, I hope that file format changes are done so that no silly problems occur, like using the same ID for different things in two projects. 7-Zip supports XZ, and keeping its developer Igor Pavlov informed about format changes is important too. Yeah. Yeah. I want to be a member of reallyimportantprojects.org. So do I, Digital Warhead. But yeah, I wouldn't even know how you would start something like that. But it would have to be, maybe something, from the Linux Foundation. There is Linux Foundation, right? Yeah, there you go. So I mean, provides a neutral, trusted hub for developers and organizations to code, manage, and scale open source, open technology projects and ecosystems. They got 900 open source projects, 3 million developers trained, 770,000 developers contributing code, 51 million lines of code added weekly. See, this sounds like exactly what the XZ guy should go, yeah, I'm going to join this. But again, I'm a judgy bitch, and I shouldn't say that because I don't know what his thing is. Maybe he thinks the code should be free and should be open and shouldn't be governed by somebody like this or whatever. I do find it kind of ironic that Tencent and Huawei are members of this. Not to use my System 1, System 2 thinking there, but Jesus. Um, yeah, maybe that person needs to embrace this and realize that it's bigger than them, right? And find a way to, either hand it over or to get that help through like Linux Foundation. So anyway, so digital, by the way, saw Mr. Taggart. So for those of you not aware, MT Taggart, here we are. MT Taggart is, came down, did his Rust adversary training for them. Really excellent stuff. Oh, gods. He's got me on his channel. Holy shit. Okay. Wow. Okay. And I saw GoPro Slow Yo as well. So if GoPro's on, shout out to Taggart. MT Taggart. Yeah, he's really good. He's new dad. Well, new dad, about a year old now, but still. And then GoPro, I met GoPro. He's a mean bowler, that GoPro Slow Yo. He whooped our ass fairly decently after the conference. And so yeah, it was good to see both of them. They're talking about doing some additional stuff online. As a matter of fact, I believe Taggart said that his training went so well that he plans on recreating it on his stream. So if you have a chance to go follow Taggart, he's going to be doing some of his training from B-Sides on his stream to recreate that. So I also will give a shout out to GoPro Slow Yo. Probably have to wait. So let me copy C. There we go. Yeah, I have to wait a minute and 2 seconds before I do another shout out. But yeah, good stuff. Doing some excellent work there to, make things better for everybody. But yeah, this probably won't be the last that we hear about this. This will continue to be a problem. I would say this is an early contender for vulnerability of the year, just in how much shit that had to go down to make this happen. And so, yeah, it is what it is. So, don't know if y'all saw, but we're going to have an interview next 7th, 8th, 7th, 8th, on the 8th. With one of the Goldilocks co-founders, Mary Gardner. We're going to be talking about she's they run a consultancy business, virtual CISO kind of thing. So we're going to talk a high level area of like what are boards thinking, how can you leverage the Goldilocks folks to or what they're thinking about when you're actually communicating with the board, what kind of questions they're asking. Oh yeah, Taggart Institute. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, they have a Discord. Taggart's also got a YouTube channel as well. Where is that? Is it? You can click on that. No, that's not it. I love the graphics and the techno punk kind of stuff. The purple's a lovely color. Yeah, Taggart has a YouTube page as well, I think. Let me see about where is he? MT Taggart. He's on Mastodon. Oh, there it is. YouTube. Taggart Institute. There you go. Go grab that as well. And cool. So, I wonder if I can do that one. Yeah, so I'm I would love any feedback you might have. If you want to join our Discord, you can come in there and tell me how I'm wrong about XZ. And again, I don't blame the developer. They were as hoodwinked as the rest of us was. I think it was an excellent social engineering on the part of Jiatan. Hope that person dies in a fire. And so, it's a lesson learned for a lot of folks maybe out there that also are single developer maintainers of something that might be fairly important. And I would say that you're not going to be able to stop the XZs of the world being backdoored, but I think it's enough that you could go through and go, okay, what packages are we using across our business? If you have, different business lines or, your code repos, I think it's probably something you could go through and search your code repos for libraries that, hit multiple times or hundreds of times. And you could say, hey, you know what? We've got libwebp in 1,500 code repos, or, we're using 5 different versions of something that probably shouldn't be that way. I think it's getting towards spring, so maybe some spring cleaning is in looking at maybe not having a threat landscape of where you're vulnerable at, but maybe just having a rough accounting of what you're using out there. If you're using 5 different versions of an application, or something that is old and hasn't been updated in forever, it might be worth the time and effort to go through. And you can use XZ as an example here. You can be like, hey, boss. Hey, sweetie. Hello. I'm streaming. Sorry. I'll shut my door here. It's my minion home from college. You could say, hey, this is somewhat concerning. We just want to go through and look and see what we're using in our environment. You don't have to necessarily take exact notes of every version that's out there, but if you see something that maybe hasn't been updated since 2019, or something that's ancient, or hey, we're using an old version of libssh or glibc or something like that, you can add those things as work to later on. Hey, okay, this group hasn't updated their stuff, or you can create some tickets for that. Figure out what might be in your environment that is your own linchpin systems, right? If you need this application or this open source package, it might be worth it to take a look and see what are those linchpin packages that you might need to worry about obsolescence, or somebody says, hey, you know what, I'm just done. Like if the XZ guy basically said, yeah, I don't want to support this anymore, I'm done. Who's going to take that over? Is it going to be Jiatan again? Is it going to be the Jiatans of the world? Is it going to be somebody legit? Is Linux Foundation taking it over? What does that look like for your, if we lost Burp tomorrow, what's your go-to? We lost OpenSSH. What's our go-to? Do we even have a go-to for OpenSSH? I mean, shit. Obviously, that would be forked if it hasn't already been forked in numerous times. But those are the things that keep me up at night. It's like, well, what happens if we don't have? What if we don't have OpenSSH? What if we don't have OpenSSL? What if it goes away? You've got boring SSL, and you've got other implementations of SSL that are possible. But not all of them are, rip it out and put it back in again. If you're using an embedded system, you're using probably XZ for that. So what is your replacement, and what's the level of effort to replace those things? Just something to think about in terms of, what you have to deal with. And on top of all the other shit you've got to deal with, now you've got this is a legitimate threat, or this is a threat that is somewhat more legitimized now in your supply chain. So Kaido is a burp alt. Okay, yeah, I've also, there's Fiddler. You know, you can use Fiddler if you like .NET. Zap, obviously. There's actually some plugins in Firefox that will do a lot of the same stuff that Burp does, not to the same degree, obviously, but, you know, tamper data, you know, you can, you know, use some Grease Monkey scripts to do some things. You know, what would it look like? But so Digital Warhead, to your point, yes, it is a Burp alt, but does it work exactly the same as Burp? Because my question would be, you know, how does that, you know, could you go at a running start with that? You know, if you're using Burp for automation, for tools, or for scanning, or you're automating it through the API, what's the damage there if Burp goes away? You know, what would be the damage if glibc went away, or God forbid we find somebody has backdoored glibc? I mean, that's not a huge problem, right? Nobody uses glibc. You know, nobody uses libpng, right? Nobody uses ffmpeg for anything, right? You know, yeah. I mean, I'm not doom and gloom, but yeah, it's not going to fundamentally change open source. There's still going to be people that are going to be taking on new maintainers, or, you know, hey, here's a new person that's going to be doing something. And I feel bad that that Jiatan preyed upon the developer who was having some mental health issues and other things. And the developer felt like they needed, it was supposed to be a non-paid hobby, but obviously the stress of the people piling on to the maintainers, you know, asking for, hey, why haven't I seen this, you know, feature, or why haven't I weighed enough on that person that they felt like they needed to make a decision, and it was unfortunately the wrong decision, in hindsight. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to go, and I think I'm going to record a little bit more of our Peerless Gamer stuff. So if you're interested in solo role-playing stuff, I've posted up episode 8 onto the Peerless Gamer, which is my other side project. Who's Shawdeck? One of these days, I'm going to find out that Digital Warhead is not who they say they are. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Digital. I love you, D-Dubs. All right, we'll guide the raid. It's a small channel, but you can feed the fish. Feeding fish. Oh, kick ass. Okay. So it's like Maker Deck, but for fish. Well, wait. You don't want to feed the fish too many times because they'll die. Well, we'll see. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for being here today. I miss Lady P. If Lady P's here. Oh, AI-powered fish tank. Okay, so it's a fake fish tank. I see. Oh, that's cool, though. I look forward to checking that out. Yeah, I miss Lady P. I see she's posting on Twitter, but she's probably still convalescing. Doesn't want to jump back into the drama that is Discord or our streams. Oh, real fish. Oh, okay. Okay. But I miss her and hope she comes back soon and is throwing barbs at me and Digital and Beta Wolf on stream here. And so, yeah, we'll go ahead and raid Shadow Tech. Shadow Tech. And we'll see what this is all about. So, oh, wait, it says SHDWTEK. Yeah, okay. So, oh, maybe I put an extra space. It doesn't like that. Oh, wait, don't put the @ sign. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so let's go feed the fish. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Mental health is no joke. Make sure you can make those decisions for yourselves. But yeah, we'll see y'all on Friday, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.